I still remember the first time I logged into the dark web. It wasn't some dramatic descent into cybercrime. It started out of boredom. College, sophomore year. I was a comp sci major, naturally curious. Some friends and I used Tor to poke around out of curiosity, mostly just exploring onion forums and hidden wikis. It was like walking through a digital ghost town, pages half broken, links leading nowhere, forums frozen in time. Creepy, sure, but also kind of fascinating. Then I stumbled onto Black Spiral. That's when things changed. It was a marketplace, much like the infamous Silk Road, except Black Spiral specialized in services, not products. Where Silk Road had peddled drugs, fake IDs, and weapons, Black Spiral offered something more personal: human labor. You could hire hackers, social engineers, private investigators, even hitmen. That's what the forum said anyway, but I assumed most of it was fake, until I found Echo Mirage. Echo Mirage had a flawless rating, no failed contracts, dozens of glowing reviews, written in code words, of course. Project successfully completed. Problem resolved permanently. Got what I paid for. His specialty? Information retrieval and destruction. One user review said he could erase a person from the internet in 24 hours, past, present, and future. Naturally, I was skeptical, so I messaged him. Hypothetical question, I wrote. How would you erase someone's presence from the internet? He responded an hour later. Depends, just data deletion or something more irreversible? I should have stopped there, but I didn't. 2 months later, I found out my sister was being harassed by an ex. Long story short, he had access to her photos, hacked her accounts, and was slowly destroying her life. She had gone to the police. They did nothing. He was careful, used VPNs, burner phones, and she was unraveling. One night, after seeing her cry for hours, I opened Tor again. Client ID 091F22. Request: remove target Jason T77 from online presence permanently. Method: your discretion. Budget: 2 BTC. It felt surreal clicking send. Even more surreal transferring the funds from my Coinbase account to a private wallet, then through a mixer, then to Echo Mirage's address. But I did it. I had crossed the line. The reply came 48 hours later. Request received, work initiated, completion ETA, 5 days. And then nothing, until day 5. That morning, I woke up to 14 missed calls from my sister. She was crying, but this time, from relief. He's gone, she said. His Facebook's gone, his Instagram, every blog he posted on wiped, even the revenge site, it 404s. I checked for myself. He had vanished. No traces left. It was like he'd never existed online. Then the news came. Local man dies in apparent suicide. Jason Turner, 29, was found dead in his apartment in Denver. Police suspected suicide by overdose. They found no note, no foul play. But I knew better. I messaged Echo Mirage. Was this you? He replied with a single message. Information is power. Power requires discretion. Job complete. I deleted everything. Wiped my drives, erased the wallets, changed laptops. But the feeling of guilt didn't go away. A year passed, then 2. I tried to put it behind me, until the FBI knocked on my door. They didn't arrest me, not at first. The agent, Morris, just wanted to talk. We've been investigating the Black Spiral marketplace for 2 years, he said. Most users just buy fake passports or credit card dumps, but we're looking for a specific vendor. Codename: Echo Mirage. I told him I didn't know anything. He showed me a screenshot. It was my message, the one I had sent Echo Mirage, my client ID, my BTC transaction. Panic. I couldn't speak. We're not after you, Morris said. You're just a user. We want the architect. Echo Mirage, it turned out, was more than a hacker. He was a network. Dozens of servers scattered across the globe. AI-assisted code that rewrote itself every week. Payment systems routed through Monero wallets mixed through 3 different protocols. And most terrifyingly, a catalog of victims going back 5 years. Names, IPs, case notes, targets. The FBI had found a lead. A Ukrainian server farm had been seized. Inside were pieces of Echo Mirage's operation, and they'd identified 5 suspects. But none of them were real. Echo Mirage wasn't a man. It was a ghost, an autonomous network with only one operator now known by another alias, WraithNet. Black Spiral was taken down in early 2023 in a joint Europol FBI operation. It didn't make major news, partly because of its nature. The kind of contracts it handled weren't the kind governments like to admit existed. Most clients were anonymous, but some had ties to corporations, even law enforcement. I gave everything I knew to Agent Morris, my accounts, my messages, the payment logs. He just nodded. "You're not the first. You won't be the last." Then something strange happened. 2 weeks after our meeting, Agent Morris disappeared. His name was erased from the DOJ site. His email bounced. I called the field office in D.C. "No one by that name has ever worked here," they said. Then I got a message. "Information is power. Power requires discretion. EM." The same signature. He was watching. I changed my name, moved. Got rid of every electronic device for 6 months. But paranoia doesn't care about reason. I started seeing shadows. Blank emails would arrive with no subject, no sender. Then one night, a flash drive was slipped under my apartment door. It contained only one file. Judgment, T-mail. I opened it, black background, white text. "You broke protocol. You exposed the network. You are the liability." Then the screen flickered. "You have 48 hours to disappear." I left that night. It's been a year since then. I live under a different name in a different country, off-grid. No internet, no phone. But I write this down now for one reason. To warn you, the dark web isn't just a marketplace. It's an ecosystem, a predator-prey loop. You think you're a customer, but you're the product. You think you're in control because you have the money. But there are deeper rules. And once you break them, once you engage, even just once, you've entered a contract you don't understand. And the other side never forgets. Epilogue, based on true events. Silk Road, the notorious darknet marketplace, operated between 2011 and 2013 and facilitated the sale of illegal drugs and services. Its creator, Ross Ulbricht, was arrested in 2013 and sentenced to life in prison. Hansa and Alphabay, two major successors, were taken down by law enforcement in 2017 in a coordinated international operation. Authorities mirrored the servers and monitored user activity before seizing them. In 2020, Europol reported that the dark web was becoming increasingly automated. Some services, including ransomware deployment and targeted doxing, were being sold by AI-assisted bots. In 2022, a real darknet vendor known as Dr. HX was found to be selling hacking services that compromised over 100 companies. He operated with anonymity for 5 years before being arrested in Morocco. The idea of a distributed AI-assisted criminal operation isn't far-fetched. In 2024, Interpol warned that self-replicating malware and autonomous botnets were evolving beyond traditional law enforcement capabilities. If you're thinking about logging on, ask yourself this. When you open the door to the dark web, do you know who's watching from the other side? I was 24 when I sold my first dataset on the dark web. Not drugs, not guns. Just raw information, usernames, passwords, hashed credit cards. That's what they wanted back then. Clean, untraceable data pulled from open MongoDB instances and misconfigured S3 buckets. I didn't think of myself as a criminal, just a freelancer with darker ethics and better pay. It all started with a Reddit thread in 2020. A user posted about data breaches, mentioned how certain marketplaces on the dark web paid in Monero for leaks. I didn't even know what Monero was then. But curiosity became obsession. I downloaded Tor, visited the hidden wiki. After a few dead ends, I found it. Alpha Market v3.1, a Silk Road successor, though smaller than Alphabay had once been. Everything was there. Counterfeit cash, zero-day exploits, murder-for-hire rumors, even organ sales. I thought it was fiction at first, but then I saw the listings under services. One caught my eye. Wanted. Clean docs, real estate developer in Seattle, high payout, full digital profile preferred, 6K in XMR. No name, no reason, just a public PGP key to encrypt responses. I didn't touch it. Not then. But it stuck with me. 6 months later, I was all in. I specialized in docs mining. Not the messy, amateur kind. My work was quiet, pulling OSINT, scraping private forums, quietly exfiltrating data from poorly secured APIs. Clean. Surgical. Clients paid in crypto, and I never asked why they needed the data. I convinced myself it was for legal disputes, blackmail, corporate espionage, things that existed in a gray zone. Then came the Kronos job. In 2022, KronosNet was breached, a mid-size VPN provider claiming 0 logs, except they lied. An anonymous user called DebtCord77 posted a $15,000 bounty for the full customer list with timestamps and IPs. I had a backdoor into a load balancer left by a lazy dev. Within a week, I had what they wanted: 30,000 users, IP histories, DNS lookups, payment methods. I packaged the files, scrubbed metadata, and posted the SHA-256 hash with a signature proving authenticity. Payment arrived in 4 hours, 15,000 in Monero, no questions asked. But then I made a mistake. I saved one file to my personal machine. Just one. A test file with 5 user entries. I forgot to wipe it. 3 months later, the FBI raided my neighbor's apartment. Not mine, hers. But I saw the black SUVs, the agents with blue windbreakers. Later, I learned she had used ChronosNet and appeared in the leaked dataset. Apparently, she'd been flagged by facial recognition at a protest. Nothing serious, just wrong place, wrong time. But ChronosNet's data was supposed to be private. The leak had consequences. I checked my logs. Someone, an intelligence group, maybe even a private firm, had downloaded the files from the mirror I used. My name wasn't on it, but I started to feel watched. That's when I got the email. Not to my real inbox, one I used on a burner Proton Mail account. No subject, just a PGP block. I decrypted it. We see you, we respect your skill, let's talk. Dead drop, 47.6097 degree N, 122.3331 degree W. Seattle, I was in Chicago. At first I thought it was a threat, but there was no demand. Just a location, coordinates pointing to a park near the waterfront. I waited 3 days, then I flew out, and the package was under a bench, taped beneath the slats. Old-school spycraft. Inside, a new burner phone, 2 SD cards, and a note. You've passed the audition. Welcome to the Null Collective. I'd heard whispers. The Null Collective was like a myth on the dark web. Some said it was a cyber anarchist group. Others thought it was a DARPA PSYOP or a Russian FSB honeypot. Their work appeared on niche markets. Deleted bank debts, vanished court records, missing people. Over the next 6 months, I worked jobs with them. Not all were illegal. Some were whistleblowing, revealing corruption in police departments, leaking offshore bank accounts tied to politicians. But others crossed the line. One job involved crashing the energy grid in a border town in Arizona for test purposes. Another was a social engineering campaign to discredit a journalist investigating cartel ties in El Paso. Still, the money flowed, and I was hooked, until Operation Bayonet came back to haunt us. You probably heard of it, a 2017 joint Europol-FBI operation that took down Alphabay and Hansa simultaneously. What most don't know is that Hansa was operated secretly by Dutch police for a month before the takedown, logging every message, transaction, and user. Turns out, some Null Collective members had been active on Hansa, including one using the handle Skelter, who had ties to a string of hits carried out in Eastern Europe, hits masked as suicides, but coordinated through dark web contracts. Interpol reopened the investigation in 2023 with new decryption tools, possibly quantum, and started reconstructing masked IP trails. Null members went quiet, then disappeared, one by one. By late 2024, only 3 of us were active. Then I got a message from Skelter, first in nearly a year. They cracked the vault. The ledger's burned. You're exposed. If you're reading this, you've already been tagged. I wiped everything. Took a train cross-country. Then another. Slept in hostels under fake names. Bitcoin was traceable now. Monero was under scrutiny thanks to Chainalysis' new tools. Privacy was eroding fast. Then, on a gray morning in November, I saw it. An email to my old account. No body. No subject. Just a JPG. I opened it. It was my face, taken through a window, from a distance. My motel room the night before. No watermark, no sender. Just one line, printed over the bottom in white text. Your sins live on-chain. I went underground after that. It's mid-2025 now. I live off-grid in an old cabin in the Cascades. No internet. Just static radios and a Faraday cage around the basement. Sometimes I hear noises at night. Not wildlife. Too careful for that. Once I found boot prints in the snow outside. Fresh. I tell this story not for sympathy and not for redemption, but because you are thinking about going there. Into the dark net. Maybe you're curious. Like I was. Maybe you think you're smarter than the rest. I thought I was a ghost. But ghosts leave traces, even in the shadows, especially in the shadows. Final words. The dark web is not a fantasy playground, it is real, and it doesn't forget. Whatever you do there stays with you, and someone, somewhere, is always watching. In 2019, I was just another broke cybersecurity major at a mid-tier university in Michigan, juggling coffee-fueled all-nighters and campus IT help desk gigs. My laptop was filled with Python scripts, packet sniffers, and a few tools I probably shouldn't have had. Curiosity is how it started. The dark web? That was just an elective adventure. My entry point was Tor, the onion router. I'd heard stories, illegal markets, red rooms, hitmen for hire. Sounded like myths, but curiosity got the better of me. The first real site I found was a clone of the old Silk Road. Long gone since Ross Ulbricht's takedown in 2013, but clones were everywhere. The one I landed on was called Dark Hydra, a sprawling marketplace that sold everything from fake passports to fentanyl. But what caught my eye wasn't drugs. It was data, hacked credentials, doxing services, access to compromised RDPs, AWS dashboards, even hospital systems, all for crypto. I wasn't a buyer, I was a technician, and I saw a niche. That's how I met NullCypher, a vendor who sold ransomware as a service. It was based on a real-world system, probably a fork of Revel or Conti, ransomware groups that made headlines for crippling everything from food supply chains to law enforcement departments. Their leaked code gave hackers like NullCypher the tools to deploy custom attacks and split profits with affiliates. I posed as a customer, messaged him. Looking to partner, have targets, need cleaner code and loader. He responded in 30 minutes. 5% cut, you handle deployment, encrypted comms only. He sent me access to a private Jabber server. We moved off Tor after that. I had no intention of infecting random hospitals or schools. I had a different target, my university. Don't get me wrong, I didn't want to hurt anyone. But the administration had covered up a massive breach the year before, quietly blaming maintenance for 3 days of downtime, while gigabytes of student data leaked online. I found my name in the leak, along with my SSN, address, even my mother's maiden name. They never notified us, just buried it. So I decided to teach them a lesson. The plan was simple, a phishing email disguised as a university alert. I'd send it to the finance and HR departments. One click would install the ransomware loader, custom built to encrypt local files and mapped network drives. It would show a message directing them to a Tor site with payment instructions in Monero. I launched it during Thanksgiving break, when IT staff were thin. I watched the logs come in, 11 machines infected, 4 critical systems, then the crown jewel, a backup server housing payroll and student financial aid data. The university paid the ransom within 48 hours, BTC 1.8 in Bitcoin routed through a mixer. I decrypted the files as promised. I didn't keep the money. I split it with NullCypher and anonymously donated my cut, roughly $14,000, to a privacy nonprofit. It felt like justice, hacktivism, not crime. But I made one mistake. I reused part of an old SSH key from my personal GitHub to sign the Jabber session, sloppy, and someone was watching. In mid-2020, just as COVID hit its peak, I was doxxed on Dread, the Reddit-style dark web forum. A user named Overwatch posted a thread titled NullCypher Affiliate ID Match Found. Inside was my university email address, fragments of the SSH fingerprint, and screenshots linking me to the ransomware payload. Overwatch was no amateur. He'd been posting for years, mostly leaks about corrupt vendors, honeypots, and FBI stings. Some said he used to be federal himself. Others believed he was ex-Lulzsec, or even part of a now-defunct NSA contractor group. His last message in the thread said, "Lee has eyes on you. Get clean. Burn everything. You have 10 days. I didn't need a second warning. I wiped my drives, destroyed my devices, and disappeared. For 3 months, I lived in motels across the Midwest under fake names. I used a Faraday bag for my phone, communicated only via Tails OS and encrypted Proton Mail. But I knew the window was closing. Then came the second message. It was hidden in a photo upload to a darknet paste bin, metadata only. Drop zone compromised, network breached, Hydra is gone. That night, Dark Hydra was seized in a Europol operation, part of the same task force that took down Alphabay in 2017 and Genesis Market in 2023. They'd infiltrated Hydra's servers months ago and were harvesting data. Hundreds were arrested. Many of them believed they were anonymous. They weren't. NullCypher vanished. Overwatch stopped posting. The entire ecosystem went cold. And I ran. It's 2025 now. I live off-grid in northern Maine, near the Canadian border. No phone, no internet. I grow my own food and monitor the skies with binoculars more than I'd like to admit. But every now and then, I plug in an old air-gapped laptop just to check. I load Tor. I check Dread, or what's left of it. Ghost towns and honeypots. Sometimes there are new posts, new vendors, new threats. One thread chilled me. Operation Terminal Access, Phase 2 incoming. Targets ex-affiliates asset cleanup. You are either leverage or liability. Posted by Overwatch. Last seen 6 months ago. Real events reflected in this story. 1. Silk Road 2011-2013. A real darknet marketplace run by Ross Ulbricht, Dread Pirate Roberts, that was taken down by the FBI. Ulbricht is now serving a double life sentence. 2. Alphabay and Hansa 2017. Alphabay was the largest darknet marketplace at the time of its takedown. Hansa was secretly operated by Dutch authorities for a month, logging all user data. 3. Revil Conti Ransomware Groups 2019-2022. Real-world ransomware as a service gangs that targeted hospitals, corporations, and critical infrastructure. Their code was often leaked and repurposed. 4. Chainalysis, Monero Traceability 2022-2024. Companies like Chainalysis developed techniques to trace anonymous cryptocurrencies. Several Monero transactions were de-anonymized by late 2024. 5. Genesis Market, takedown in 2023. A real marketplace for stolen credentials, cookies, and session tokens, taken down by international law enforcement in a coordinated sting. 6. Dread Forum. A real dark web forum similar to Reddit, widely used for vendor reviews, market updates, and discussions, known for hosting whistleblowers and criminals alike. 7. Metadata tracking. Real de-anonymization attacks have used metadata, PGP key fingerprints, SSH signatures, and reused usernames to unmask darknet users. Conclusion. The dark web sells anonymity, but anonymity is fragile. The tools you think protect you, Tor, Monero, VPNs, can be compromised by mistakes, metadata, or sheer persistence from law enforcement. Most who operate in that world believe they're careful, but the real danger lies in what you can't control: leaks, betrayal, and digital footprints that never truly disappear. Ask yourself, when you access the shadows, who's watching you? I was 19 when I found the dark web. Not the surface-level Reddit AMAs or YouTube scare stories. I mean the real dark web, the kind buried under encryption, hidden behind onion layers where people aren't just browsing for weird forums or questionable images. They're doing business, and not the legal kind. It started with a single link on a hacker forum. A user named Deaddrop had posted a walkthrough titled, "How to Survive the Deep Net Without Getting Burned." It wasn't a guide, it was a warning, but curiosity doesn't care about warnings. I was a freshman at a state college in Texas, studying computer engineering and moonlighting as a white-hat hacker on bug bounty sites. One night, after a few beers and a fight with my roommate over stolen charger cables, I fired up Tor and started digging. I found forums like Dread in the Hub. I scrolled through listings on White House Market, Canazon, and an eerily professional site called Alphabay, a resurrection of the marketplace that had once rivaled Amazon before it was taken down by the feds in 2017. Its new version ran purely on Monero, the untraceable cryptocurrency. I was fascinated by the architecture more than the content. How did this whole world operate so invisibly? How did people trust vendors who could disappear in a click? Then I found Zero Trust. That was the vendor name. His profile said, Digital Access Specialist. 5 stars. Over 800 reviews. He wasn't selling weed or forged passports. He was selling access to servers, admin panels, databases, and cloud drives. In other words, doors to the inside. I didn't buy anything. But I started talking to him, pretended to be a freelance pen tester interested in reselling credentials. He was surprisingly professional, polite, encrypted, and precise. Then one day he sent me a message. "You want in, huh? I've got something small for you. A taste." Attached was a credentials dump for a dental software company in Ohio. Logins, database keys, even AWS access tokens. "Do what you want," he wrote. "I already got paid." I didn't know it at the time, but this was a real breach. Weeks later, the company would be hit by a Revil ransomware attack that encrypted their client records and demanded $100,000 in Monero. They paid. I wasn't involved, not directly, but I had seen the access logs before it happened. The backdoor was real. The breach was real. That's when I realized something important. You don't have to pull the trigger to be part of the crime. I walked away, or tried to, deleted my burner wallet, burned the PGP keys, wiped my Tails USB. But the thing about the dark web is, it remembers. By the fall of 2021, the cyber world was on fire. Colonial Pipeline was hit by DarkSide ransomware. Kaseya, a major IT firm, was crippled by Revil. Governments were cracking down. Europol had taken over Hansa in a sting operation and logged all its users for weeks. The FBI was claiming they had cracked Monero transactions with Chainalysis. People were getting arrested, disappearing. Then, Zero Trust messaged me again. Need a small job. 3K in XMR, simple recon. The message included a Proton mail address and an IP range. I didn't respond. I logged out. But 3 days later, I got an email to my college account. An account I'd never used on the dark web. The subject line, "You're already compromised." Inside was a single link to a Pastebin clone. It listed my IP, Wi-Fi MAC address, and a folder of photos from my webcam, taken while I'd been browsing Tor months earlier. He hadn't trusted me. He'd watched me. I went dark, threw my laptop in the Brazos River, bought a burner and drove 800 miles to Phoenix, started fresh. But it didn't matter. I was already on a list. In early 2023, I saw it on the news, Genesis Market Takedown, one of the largest platforms for stolen credentials. Over 80 million digital identities sold to hackers, fraudsters, and state actors. Raids across 17 countries. Dozens arrested. The U.S. and UK claimed they had years of data. Genesis had once been the go-to for access brokers like Zero Trust. So I waited for his name to appear on a press release. But it never did. Instead, I saw this. High-value access vendor Z-Trust escapes seizure. Believed to be operating out of Singapore or Dubai. Known for custom backdoor sales. Under surveillance. He was still out there. And now he was a fugitive. A dangerous one. Later that summer, a friend of mine who worked in incident response with a private firm called me out of nowhere. "Were you ever on Dread?" he asked. I paused. "Why?" "We're auditing logs from a darknet sting, cross-referencing old Onion IDs to leaked SSH keys. Your handle came up." I hung up, changed numbers, bought a new laptop. And that night, I found something chilling. On Dread, a post titled, "Trusted Exit Node, Rebuilding the Network," posted by Z-Trust. He had returned, with a vengeance. The post was a call to arms, a recruitment drive for skilled coders, access peddlers, and malware deployers. He promised anonymity, crypto payments, and immunity. The final line read, "If you're reading this, you've already passed the first test." 2 months later, Zero Trust's dead man switch activated. He was never arrested, never tried. But a massive leak surfaced. Logs from private military contractors, backdoors to over 50 VPN services, and emails from intelligence firms. He had been collecting for years. And when he disappeared, whether murdered, arrested, or vanished on his own terms, he set it all free. It was the final middle finger to the system, and to people like me, people who thought we could play in the shadows without becoming part of the dark. Epilogue. The real events behind the fiction. 1. Silk Road 2011-2013. Created by Ross Ulbricht, it was the first major darknet market. It operated under the Tor network and used Bitcoin for transactions. Shut down by the FBI in 2013. 2. Alphabay 2014-2017. At its peak, Alphabay had over 400,000 users. After its takedown, users were funneled to Hansa, which was secretly operated by Dutch police. 3. Hansa Sting 2017. Law enforcement took control of the Hansa marketplace, logging user data for over a month before shutting it down. 4. Revil and Darkside Ransomware 2019-2022. Real ransomware as a service RAS groups that crippled infrastructure, schools, and corporations. Colonial Pipeline paid $4.4 million in ransom. 5. Genesis Market takedown in 2023. A real darknet platform where stolen session cookies and login credentials were sold, often enabling bypass of MFA, seized by international law enforcement. 6. Chainalysis and de-anonymization. Chainalysis and similar companies have begun tracing Monero transactions and cracking crypto obfuscation methods once thought bulletproof. 7. Deadman switches and data leaks. Several high-profile hackers, including whistleblowers, have used automated scripts to leak sensitive files if they go silent or get arrested. Final thoughts. The dark web isn't fantasy, it's infrastructure. It runs parallel to your world, trading in data, access, and power. And the minute you engage with it, even for curiosity, you've already stepped through a door that doesn't open both ways. Trust me, I found the exit node, and I wish I never had. The first time I accessed the dark web, I was 17. I wasn't there for drugs or hitmen. I wanted to prove something, to myself mostly, that I was better than my high school teachers who mocked me for hacking into the school Wi-Fi, better than my dad who said I'd end up in jail. I didn't want trouble, but trouble found me. Back then, the Alpha Bay takedown was still fresh. Ross Ulbricht had already been locked away for the Silk Road. All the forums were buzzing about Hansa, the Dutch-run honeypot that trapped thousands of darknet buyers and vendors before being shut down by Europol. Everyone claimed, the feds are everywhere. I believed them, at first, until I saw the post. Ghost Market, invite only, zero trust, full anonymity, no logs, ever. It was just a link. Onion address. Password protected. The site looked plain. No flashy design, no categories. It had one product, access. You could buy remote desktop access to banks, corporate networks, hospitals, RDPs, VPN credentials, fully weaponized. No one was talking about this place publicly. It didn't exist on any Dread forum or index. But the addresses were legit. Many were from real-world companies already compromised. At the time, I didn't understand what that meant. I just knew there was power behind the code. I started with recon, passive scanning, found a misconfigured AWS bucket. Inside, client records from a mid-sized law firm in Baltimore. Dumped 800 files, confidential litigation emails, tax docs, and scanned passports. I uploaded the dump to Ghost Market. 2 hours later, I had 0.15 BTC in my wallet. That was over $1,500 at the time. By the time I was 20, I wasn't just browsing Ghost Market, I was contributing. I ran a botnet, small but efficient. My targets were simple: school systems, real estate offices, law firms, dental clinics, low security, high return. I'd use custom loaders to infect machines with Revel ransomware variants. Encrypt, demand Monero, then vanish. One job netted me $20,000 from a hospital that didn't report the breach. They paid in silence, terrified of violating HIPAA. Everything went through Ghost Market. It was like eBay for cybercrime, but cleaner, smarter. It even had an escrow system. The admins were ghosts. No names, no identities, just GPG signatures. Their OPSEC was bulletproof, or so I thought. Then came April 2023. I logged in and found the site down. Not 404, not server unreachable, just a message. This service has been seized as part of Operation Spectre, controlled by international law enforcement. Below it, the logos of Europol, the FBI, and Germany's BKA. Ghost Market had fallen. So had Genesis Market, its larger cousin. The headline said 119 arrests across 17 countries, hundreds of devices seized, over 80 million stolen credentials recovered. I wasn't arrested, but I knew I was on a list. I wiped everything. My laptop, burner phones, crypto wallets. I vanished into the digital woods. No email, no accounts, no voice assistants. I used Tails OS, stored my backups in encrypted partitions, moved to a prepaid 4G hotspot that I threw in the river after every session. It didn't matter. 3 weeks later, I got the message. Not through email or Tor. It was printed, taped to the inside of my apartment door. Typed, clean, no fingerprints. Your old friend from Baltimore says hi. I froze. That line, it was code, referring to the law firm from my first dump. Only 2 people could know that. Me and whoever bought the data. Or law enforcement. Someone had flipped. The paranoia set in. I checked my walls for bugs. I scanned for Bluetooth pings. I drove 3 states away and stayed in a motel under a fake name. I didn't sleep for 3 nights. Then a second message came, this time via Proton Mail. Want to disappear? Help us instead. Full immunity. One last job. I didn't reply, but I read the attachment. They wanted access to an offshore forum called Red Room Zero, not the snuff film legend type. This one dealt in nation-state hacks, compromised routers, air-gapped systems, military firmware exploits. The sender claimed to be from Circle, a European cyber intel group. Said Red Room Zero was hosting a vulnerability against nuclear centrifuge equipment, likely stolen from an Iranian lab. They didn't want to expose it. They wanted to trace it, map who was accessing it, who was buying it. They needed someone like me. I agreed, part out of fear, part guilt, part because, I don't know, I thought maybe I could undo some of the harm. I spent 2 months building access, spoofing IDs, using leaked SSH fingerprints. Eventually I got in. I never saw who owned the forum, but the buyers were real. People were auctioning firmware payloads that could disable water treatment facilities, cause pipeline explosions, crash satellites. It was Stuxnet 2.0 commercialized. I logged everything, captured PGP signatures, wallet addresses. Then I sent it off. That was supposed to be the end. It wasn't. In December 2023, Circle's office in Luxembourg was hit by a massive data breach. A ransomware group called Black Lambda took credit. No ransom demand, just a public release of internal files. One of them included my alias, my old Proton Mail metadata, the Red Room Zero reports. My cover was blown. I disappeared again, this time for good. It's June 2025 now. I'm writing this from a cabin in rural Saskatchewan. No phone, no internet. Just a shortwave radio and a dog I found half-starved near a truck stop. I haven't logged into anything in over a year. But sometimes, I catch strange signals on the 25 MHz band, encrypted bursts, Morse code patterns. Once, I swear I heard a voice. Exit node compromised. Ghosts don't stay buried. Was it paranoia? Probably. But in the darknet world, the worst ghosts are the ones you help create. Real-world references and events in the story. 1. Silk Road, 2011-2013. The first major darknet market, operated by Ross Ulbricht. Taken down by the FBI in 2013. Ulbricht is serving a double life sentence. 2. Alphabay, 2014-2017. At its peak, the largest darknet market. Admin Alexandra Kazes was arrested in Thailand and found dead in custody, relaunched briefly in 2021. 3. Hansa Market, 2017. Taken over by Dutch police during Operation Bayonet, used to trap and log darknet users before being shut down. 4. Revil Ransomware Group. Active until 2021. Known for high-profile attacks, including the Kaseya breach, code was leaked and repurposed by other threat actors. 5. Genesis Market Takedown, April 2023. Real dark web credential market selling stolen browser fingerprints and session cookies. Busted in a massive sting with over 100 arrests. 6. Monero Kilmeir. Privacy-focused cryptocurrency, often used on darknet markets. Chainalysis claimed in 2023 it was developing methods to trace Monero transactions. 7. Kirkel. Computer Incident Response Center Luxembourg. Real-world cybersecurity response center for the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, known for tool development and threat intelligence sharing. 8. Stuxnet 2010. Real malware that targeted Iranian nuclear centrifuges, believed to be developed by the US and Israel, marked the rise of state-sponsored cyber warfare. Final note, this story blends fact with fiction, but every tool, tactic, breach, and takedown mentioned here is real. The dark web isn't magic. It's not Hollywood. It's code, choices, consequences. And once you enter, there's no back button. Thank you for listening. Hope I didn't scare you too much. If you like my stories, please consider giving me a like and subscribe. See you next time.